Hi, welcome to the stream, guys. Today is a deceptively quiet, but yet all the stories that are out are kind of long stories. So, we have big chunks, big clips today that we can enjoy from each story, even though it was a slow news day, which is kind of a good thing. But before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoy the video, watch it all the way through, subscribe, like, comment, and yeah, let's get into it. So ever since the merger of Discovery and Warner Brothers, David Zaslav has been the guy at charge, at the top of CEO of both of these companies. He's the same guy who's responsible for changing it from HBO Max to just Max and taking HBO out of the entire company, even though the majority of Max is pretty much HBO and the reason why people subscribe to it. I know that's the reason why I do. Dumbest move in history, whatever. But recently they came out and said that Cartoon Network is going to have to share resources across all platforms because they're concentrating heavily on new IPs and rebooting IPs. So Brian Miller recently also came out and they asked him what the future of Cartoon Network was. And this guy's been here for 21 years. So when they asked him what's going to happen to Cartoon Network, and basically, rest in peace, Cartoon Network. And the reason being is because it's not a secret that animation takes a lot of money and a lot of manpower to create these animes that we love. And Brian Miller came out and just said 2 words: rest in peace, Cartoon Network. Which more than likely means the beloved network that introduced me to a lot of cartoons and a lot of entertainment that I didn't know about. And also the network that, in my opinion, single-handedly started the anime revolution by introducing millions to Toonami and all the great shows that were on it, one of them being Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, Sailor Moon, Inuyasha, and countless others that we love today. And because of that network, we now have that revolution. So more than likely, Cartoon Network isn't going to be the same, or is not going to be a thing anymore, thanks to David Zaslav. I can't stand this guy, Jesus Christ. So after a bunch of the community of Crunchyroll review bombed Twilight out of focus, Crunchyroll announced that it's going to remove the comment section, but it will be putting back the rating system, which, okay, Crunchyroll's kind of made a statement that if we appreciate that people want to have a community on Crunchyroll, but if you want to do that, we have communities on Facebook, on Twitter, and on different platforms that you can comment on, like Reddit, and they encourage people to do that. In other words, take your fandom over there. We don't want the social media aspect over here. It's kind of annoying because I thought that was really cool of Crunchyroll that they had a platform that had a social media aspect that allowed you to kind of comment on the new anime that people were watching, or just do the whole communication with each other. And it was the only of its kind, and now it's gone. Hopefully in the future they bring it back, but I doubt it. I don't think Sony or Crunchyroll want to deal with the moderation aspects of this entire endeavor that it would take, which, to be honest with you, is probably money costing cuts that they're doing because they don't want to spend money on moderating. So yeah, it is what it is. Rest in peace, comment section of Crunchyroll. So recently a Grand Theft Auto 5 developer came out and kind of confirmed what we all knew about the GTA 5 DLC, that we all wanted for the game to play as our trio of characters one more time. But what they did not expect was for GTA Online to be as successful as it was. A bunch of little kids stealing their mom's debit card so they could buy Shark Bull fucking credits and pay $20 for a million credits in the game. They did not expect for that many people to be playing the game. To this day, GTA Online makes them $1 billion almost every other month. So if you thought that GTA or Rockstar Games was going to not capitalize on that, you're insane. And he kind of confirms that, yeah, GTA Online got too big and we kind of had to put our focus there. But what a world will we live in if we would have gotten DLC and GTA Online content. I don't think I would have ever stopped playing it if that was the case, but I mean, it is what it is. The Nintendo Switch is going to rest in peace soon, and Nintendo plans on releasing a Nintendo Switch 2 more than likely in 2025, and they're more than likely going to announce it towards the end of this year or the beginning of next year and just release it in the summertime. But since everybody knows the Nintendo Switch is more than likely not going to be the main console anymore, a lot of people are kind of not spending money on the Switch, and it's kind of only logical. Like the article that I'm reading here is titled as the Nintendo Switch fell harder than any console. Like, of course, the Nintendo Switch is like 300 years old. It was old when it came out, and now that people know that it's coming to an end, May 2024 content spending fell 3% compared to $3 billion that it was last year, as a 13% growth in mobile. They're making a crap ton of money when it comes to mobile gaming. I didn't even know they had mobile gaming, but apparently they do. And it could not offset a 40% drop in console content spending, which means overall it had a 40% drop even with all the profit it made, which happens with all old consoles. Everything is going to go down towards the end, and then towards the beginning of the new Switch 2 or the Super Switch 2, whatever it's going to be called, is going to make it go to a high. And expect the console to be announced sometime early 2025. So Paramount Plus couldn't make up its mind and get a buyer to sell Paramount as a whole entity. They had a deal with Sony that would have given them $20 to $24 billion, and then they messed that up. And then they went to Skydance and they tried to get a deal with them, and they looked like they was almost done, and it looked like it was going to go through, and then it didn't last minute. But finally, Skydance is going to buy Paramount and is going to be valued at $28 billion, which, damn, like, make some of that cash fly, son. And it should be done by the end of the summer. They haven't really said what they're going to do with Paramount Plus, but if I have to guess, in the future, they're more than likely going to get rid of Paramount Plus, because it doesn't make sense to have a streaming platform when you can put it on Netflix, when you can put it on HBO, and they can put it on Prime. Unless they decide to sink more money into something that really isn't going to make them a profit, like Netflix or like Amazon Prime or HBO, because of the fact those companies have been around a long time and pretty much have all of the installation that they need without wasting a bunch of money that they already wasted. And at this point, if you're trying to get into the streaming service, it's probably too late unless you're like Disney and willing to like burn cash. If you're watching The Boys, then you're aware that the show is coming to an end soon. Not this season, but more than likely next season. Well, the director came out and said that it wants to end season 5 with the cliffhanger that sets up for a movie, which is, why would you say that out loud? Like, now I know that season 5 is going to end on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to be anticipating that. But Anthony Starr, the star of one of the stars of The Boys, came out and said that he's down to actually do that idea. So more than likely this is happening. They're going to make season 5 a setup for a movie. Most of the time I would be kind of annoyed by that kind of thing, but The Boys has been just consistent for the longest time now, and it knows how not to just only rely on shocking events, but actually have good writing in the show. So I'm really excited to see this happen, and which normally I wouldn't be excited for this at all. Star Wars Outlaw comes out on August 27th, and the developers wanted to open up more on how each planet that you can explore on your spaceship and how big it is. On a speeder, most planets can be crossed within 5 minutes, but the developer says that the reason why it's not bigger than just a 5-minute map with a speeder is because there's always something happening on a map, with actual events happening in the area, with NPCs that feel like Red Dead Redemption 2, where something was always happening and you were always kind of engaged in that game randomly, and this game is trying to replicate that. So I'd rather have a 5-minute map than have just an empty map where nothing happens. And to be honest with you, a 5-minute map is kind of big, but we'll see how this game is. I might get this game, I might not, because of the controversy with the DLC, but let's hope that it's a good game. I am rooting for the game to be good because it's Star Wars, and people have been waiting for an open world Star Wars for like the longest time. I fucking hate that everything recently is making me feel old. Like, I came up upon a playlist that had dad rock in it, and it was all the shit that I grew up with. Like, y'all need to relax, okay? But if there's one thing that made me more, like, feel old, is the fact that A Fistful of Dollars is getting a remake, and they're gonna partner with the same producer and the same studio and make the remake of the movie. The cast isn't really known yet because they're gonna keep that under wraps, but, like, I feel so fucking old. Like, when I was a kid, the movie was like a classic. I think when I was like 6 or 7, it was like already a classic, like already. But now that I'm older, like, this makes me feel ancient. This feels, I can imagine that this is what the people that had Scarface remake into the Scarface that we know now felt like, because this makes me feel old. The only thing I hope is that this movie is actually good, because it's hard to kind of top a Clint Eastwood movie, you know what I mean? If there's one show that's ever made me just be on edge because you never know what's going to happen in that world, and almost the most realistic outcome could happen, or the most horrible thing could happen in this show or like piece of fiction that you're reading, are probably Attack on Titan and Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones last night proved to me why I love Game of Thrones so much. It's not necessarily because there's this like it's not the big oh my god events, it's everything that's built around it to lead up to that moment. And episode 5 of House of Dragons really made me feel like that. While there was a big dragon fight and there was some monumental changes that happened in the show because of certain things happening to certain important people, it's what everything that led up to it and how it led up to it is probably the sense of dread that I have. And then once that dread comes, you realize that this is a Song in Ice and Fire or Attack on Titan Shingeki no Kyojin world, where anybody can die and anything can happen at any moment. And I really love those two universes for that reason, and also because I'm a political nerd and the politics is really, really good in that show. So I accidentally recorded this entire thing in 1080p, and I only noticed it towards the end of finishing recording. So I'm going to keep it at 1080p for today. So if it looks kind of neat, my videos look a little bleh today on your TV or on your phone, that's why. So I fucked up, because I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for watching, guys. Oh my god, it's been recording in 1080p this entire time.